Welcome, everybody, to the Photoshop Tip of the Week. I am Woody Walters, and you're here for that tip, so let's get started. Hey, but before we start, Chris and I are doing a webinar on the 31st, which will be tomorrow since I'm recording this today. So be sure to check that out. Look at our groups for what times and so on, and be sure to check it out because what we're going to be doing the webinar on are making the selections. And this is kind of a little bit of a prelude to that webinar. So I just want to talk to you about this. Okay, so we're going to be working on selections. And people, I use Topaz Remask. If you do not have it, I highly recommend it. Be sure to check it out. The technique I want to show you, though, really works with refined brushes or whatever selection tools you want to use in Photoshop as well, too. So we got this model here, and you can see that she was photographed on a white background. Now the whole thing is, which really helps you with your selections, especially with hair, is to photograph them. If you're doing a brunette, photograph them against a white background. If you're doing a blonde, photograph them against a very dark gray background. I don't say pure black, but I will say probably like zone 3, zone 4, so you can get that separation of the blonde hair to the darker background. Don't use black because if they're wearing anything black, it's going to affect that as well. So you always want separation there. And you can see here that I have a nice clean little separation. The first thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to help Topaz or Photoshop. Remember, when you're making selections, it's looking at edge contrast, the edge of the contrast between my hand and my black shirt right now. And so that's what it's looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two layers, one, two. And I always create two because I don't ever want to be destructive down here. So what I'm going to come up to here to this layer is I'm going to do image. I'm going to come down to adjustment and I'm going to do brightness and contrast. Now watch this. I'm going to bring my brightness up. Boom, boom, boom. I still want to maintain that separation right here in her arm. That's very important. Look at this. I want to see that separation between her arm, the line of her arm, and the background. And I can look at that and I can say, yeah, that looks pretty doggone good. So I'm going to keep that right there. If I go too high, it blows it out. Now I can't see that separation between that. So I can't go that high. I'm just going to add a little bit to this, probably about right in there, about 37 or 38 for this particular image. Contrast, I could bring that down a little bit. So I maintain that, and now I'm going to look at that. I'm going to say, okay. And so that's looking pretty good. The next thing I'm going to do Control L, and I'm going to do levels, and I'm going to grab my white eyedropper. I'm going to come up to the whitest part of my background, which is not white, and I'm going to click it. Boom. And now you can see that it's turned that white. I'm going to click OK. And if I magnify this, you can see that I still maintain that arm line here. That's very important. So this is the layer or the image that we're going to make our selection from. So I'm going to come up to Filter. I'm going to go to Topaz. And I'm going to go to Remask. And we're going to click on that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and outline her whole body because I don't want to take time. The main thing I want to talk about today is the hair. Now, notice how big my brush is. I'm going to grab my brush, and the rule of thumb is half in, half out. So I'm going to bring this around, and I'm going to bring it around her hairline. Now, this area right in here, where it's got a lot of loose hairs, I'm going to make sure I grab it all. And now we'll grab this, and I'm just going to slide it down to here. We're just going to come over here to this arm. We'll come up to here. And again, I'm grabbing that arm line. We'll come over here. Make sure we get all that hair good. I'm going to reduce my brush size just because I don't like this. I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to grab her in between her arms so we can see it. I'm going to fill that in. Boom. Good. And so now we're going to come over here. We're going to fill this with red. Boom. And I'm going to fill that middle part. Boom. Good. And now we click on Compute Mask. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to turn this to black and white. And with some subtle grays. You can see I have some grays in here. Now those subtle grays I got to get rid of. So I'm going to grab my green brush, which is what I want to keep, and I'm going to hit that. Boom. Boom. We're just going to hit all of that. Boom. boom, boom. Right here at her jawline, boom, boom. I'm going to come in pretty tight. I'm going to get right up next to it. I'm not going to touch over it. And now we're going to grab this arm. Boom. Good. I'm going to grab that shoulder because that's the part that's really close to getting blown out here. So I want to make sure I got all of that. And I could come down here, but I'm not going to mess with this any more than that. Now I'm going to come up to her head because this is where it really, really gets important. I'm just going to clean up that line. And I'm going to look right here. Right here I want all that hair that's in here. Right here I want this jawline I want. Boom. We're going to clean that up. Boom. Now notice I'm not going over the lines. We're going to come in here more. See this hair in here? This is all part of her head. So I want all that. I'm not going to get rid of that. This area in here, boom. We're just going to define it. Now this area right here, boom. This area right in here, boom. And I'm just going to look at that. I'm going to reduce my brush size. Now always working with my refinement of that. We're going to clean up all this area, boom. We're going to clean up some of this area, boom. This area I'm going to want. Now look, right in here I'm probably going to want. Probably right in here I'm probably going to want because that's all hair. So we're going to get it. I'm going to take a chance and play that there, play that there. Now right in here, we're starting to lose some of our hair. So I'm going to get my brush very small now. And now we're going to magnify that even more. So now I'm going to bring that over here. And I'm just going to grab these hairs. I'm going to bring that in. Good, look at that. I'm going to bring that in. Good, look at that. We're going to bring this in. Look at that. This hair here. You might not think it's much, but believe me, it's a lot. We're going to zoom in more. The more you zoom in, the more accurate you can get. Also, the more sloppiness you can get. You can see I'm using a very, very thin brush. So if I'm trying to hit a line that's only that big, it's going to be very, very hard for me to do so. But if I can hit a line where it's this big, I can probably hit it and be accurate with it. Just going to bring that in a little bit. Just let it play by itself. Let it play by itself. Now where it joins the other part of her head, we're going to make sure we want to get. So that's looking pretty good. These hairs in here I could probably hit. Good. This hair right in here I could probably hit. Good. And if you're worried about it, watch this. I'm going to switch to red. I doubt you're going to be able to see it. But I'm switching to my red brush. And now I'm going to come in here and click on the areas I don't want to get. Good. I'm going to come in this area here. These are the hair areas that I really don't want. There's no need for them. Good. I'm going to switch back to my green. I'm going to grab this area in here, clean that up. We're going to come down over here. Just want to see some areas in here. I'm going to go to red again. Just going to make sure I click on an area that makes sure that it's dark. This area in here, boom. I'm going to come right to here, boom. And you can see it's darkening. Now right here I got a loose hair and I don't want it, so I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to go back to my green, which is the Q key. Q is green, W is red. So I can easily switch between what I want and what I don't want in here. I'm going to come back to there. I'm going to clean up that jawbone a little bit. Good. Now we're going to zoom out. We're going to come over here to this side. See how much of that I want to get. I still want to clean up the shoulder a little bit. I don't like it being soft. So I'm just going to come over here. Just clean that up. Got my brush so small I can't even see it. So now these hairs right here, I want to include those. I don't want them to fade away. These hairs in here, I want to include them. Now we're going to go to W, and this hair in here, I want to bring separation into. So you can see, and people, I spend a lot of time making selections. I spend a god amount of time making selections. And with today's technology and all that we have, it's a lot easier than back in my day. Now we're going to go to green again. I'm going to clean up these hairs right in here. I can clean up these, even that one. Good. These hairs, I'm going to go to green. I'm going to try to pronounce them out a little bit. Just clean them up a little bit. Good. This hair in here I need. Good. This hair in here I'm going to need. I'm just going to clean that up. Now, look what happened. I'm missing my separation now. So I got to really choose and pick where I'm clicking this at, because it can give me a lot of heartache. But I want that clean in there. Good. Look at that. Now we're going to go back to green. I'm going to clean up some of these loose hairs right in here. Just clean them up. Just clean them up. So now we're going to zoom out. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to go to red. See that fringing I have right over here? We're going to clean that up. We're going to clean up some of the stray hairs right in here. Some of those. Good. Look at that. That's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. Now at this point, I'm not worried about all this in here. I'm just focusing on my hair right now. This not right now. We're going to hit this at about 51% mass strength, and then foreground recovery we're going to hit at 100%. We're going to look at this. Now I'm going to use a very important brush right here, and this is my transparency brush. And right now you can see it's showing me green. I'm going to come up over here. Just want to see some of this fringing. Right now I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to click on that. I'm going to see if that will clean that up a little bit. That's pretty good. So now we're going to click on this. I'm going to click a lighter area of it. I'm going to click over here. We're going to see if it'll clean this area up just a little bit. Just a little bit. I don't want too much shadowing going on. I'm doing a big spot. I usually don't work in that big of a spot. Let's see what it does. Now that looks pretty damn good. So right now I can see I have some stuff in here. So I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to grab that. Just want to hit this part a little bit. Just clean that up a little bit. Good. Look at that. Zoom out. We're going to leave it about like that. I'm going to zoom out. Now, I'm going to take my saturation, desaturation. I'm going to move it up to about 85%. I'm going to look at it. That's looking pretty good. And now I'm going to say, okay. Boom. But now I'm going to hold the command key down. You got to remember, this is not the layer we want to copy from. I'm going to do Control C, and now I'm going to come down to this layer. I'm going to turn those two layers off because those were my adjustment layers. Now we're going to do Control C to copy it. Control V. So I'm going to repeat that after I paste this down. What I did is we made a selection from this layer, and then I added that layer. And this is where we made our selection from. That's the new layer. So I made my selection from this layer, which I increased the contrast. When I clicked OK in Topaz, it pasted it down a new layer of that. But that's not what I want. So I'm holding the command key down, and I'm making my ants, marching ants, select everything that's in this thumbnail. And now I'm turning those three layers off, and I'm going down to my original layer. And now I'm going to do Control C, Control V to copy it. And now we're just going to add a new layer here. I'm going to hit Alt Delete, and we're going to see how well we did. Let's grab our Move tool. Let's get on that layer. Let's see how well we did. Now, Let's really see how well we did. Let's zoom up on it. Look at that, people. That is darn good hair selection. Look at that. Look at that. And so, again, be sure to check out our webinar tomorrow or on the 31st. And so, people, if you're getting, helpful tips with these Photoshop tips, you really, really need to think about joining the exclusive group. If you think these tips help you, wait till you see over hour-long videos training that teaches you everything. We do Photoshop by request. We do Inside Woody's World. We do the 15-minute makeover. We do the weekly critiques on everybody's work, a video weekly critique of me telling you exactly what I would do to help your images to become better. So be sure to check that out. So until next week, shoot from the heart and shoot with passion. We'll see you here inside of the tip of the week.